73-year-old widow, 412 fence dispute, judge ka emotional breakdown, dignity and decency ka powerful moment. I have sat on the bench for 40 years. In all that time, I learned one rule better than any law book could teach me. A judge must stay steady. People walk into a courtroom carrying the worst day of their lives. They bring anger, grief, fear, shame, and sometimes lies so polished they almost sound like truth. And when they place all of that in front of you, your job is not to fall apart with them. Your job is to listen, to think, to answer with fairness, not emotion. For 40 years, I did that. I heard parents talk about losing children. I heard children talk about losing parents. I watched witnesses break down. I watched defendants lie straight to my face. I watched families destroy each other over money, property, pride, and pain. And not once did I cry. Not once. Until a 73-year-old woman walked into my courtroom with one folded piece of paper, 2 canceled checks, and a claim for $420. That number may sound small, but by the end of that morning, the entire courtroom understood that sometimes the smallest amount of money can carry the heaviest story. Her name was Margaret Ellis. She was 73 years old. Small in the way age makes some people smaller. Not weak, not helpless, just carefully reduced by time. Her white hair was pinned back with 2 silver clips. She wore a blue cardigan over a floral blouse, and she walked slowly like her hips hurt, but she had decided nobody needed to know that. She sat at the plaintiff's table, placed one folded paper in front of her, smoothed it gently with both hands, and looked up at me. No anger, no drama, no complaint. Just tired, clear eyes. Across from her sat her neighbor, Daniel Price, 54 years old. He had brought a contractor's estimate and an expression that told me he thought this whole case was a waste of his morning. He leaned back in his chair, checked his phone, and barely looked at her. I called the case Mrs. Ellis, I said. Tell me why you're here. She unfolded her paper. Her handwriting was careful, old-fashioned, the kind people used before everything was typed. She adjusted her glasses and began. A storm had damaged the fence between her property and Daniel's. 3 panels had fallen. The fence sat on the property line, and for years both homes had shared the cost of maintaining it. Margaret had gone to Daniel and asked about splitting the repair. He agreed. He even suggested a contractor he knew. The contractor came out, inspected the damage, and gave them an estimate, $840, half for Margaret. Half for Daniel, $420 each. Margaret wrote her check that same week because, as she said quietly, when I owe something, I pay it. Daniel did not. She waited. 2 months. She knocked on his door twice. She left a note. She called and left a message. One time when she finally reached him, he told her he would take care of it. But he never did. The contractor completed the work. He had done the job correctly and on time. When Daniel still did not pay, the second invoice came to Margaret. So she paid it, another $420. She told me she did not want the contractor to suffer because someone else had failed to keep his word. That was the case. Simple. Clean, documented. She had the contractor's invoice. She had photocopies of both canceled checks. Everything was organized on that one folded piece of paper. I looked at Daniel Price. He shrugged. He said money had been tight. He said the timing was bad. He said he had planned to pay her back. When, I asked, he looked down. I'm not sure exactly. Margaret watched him with an expression I recognized. It was not anger. It was the quiet disappointment of someone who already knew the truth, but had come to court hoping she might be wrong. I was ready to rule. This was easy. He owed her $420 plus filing costs. There was no real defense. No confusion. No complicated law. I was about to say it and move to the next case. Then I asked a question I almost did not ask. I said, "You do not have to answer this if you do not want to. But the second payment, the one you made to cover Mr. Price's share, was that difficult for you financially?" She looked at me for a long moment. Then she said, "Yes, Your Honor, it was." The courtroom seemed to quiet around her. "Can you tell me a little more?" I asked. She looked down at her paper. For a moment, I thought she would refuse. Then she folded her hands in her lap and began. Her husband, Walter, had died 14 months earlier, pancreatic cancer. From diagnosis to the end. 11 weeks. She said it like a number she had counted so many times it had become smooth. They had been married for 51 years. Walter had taught high school history for 34 years. He loved American history, especially the Civil War. He coached junior varsity baseball for 20 years because he believed boys needed to learn how to lose gracefully before they could learn how to win anything that mattered. When she said that, a small smile appeared on her face. Then it disappeared. After Walter died, Margaret learned things about their finances she had not fully understood while he was alive. Not because he had lied. She was very clear about that. Walter had not hidden things from her. He had simply managed them quietly, medical bills. A heart procedure 4 years earlier. Medications insurance had not fully covered. Small debts he had moved around and handled without worrying her. That was how Walter loved people. He carried the heavy things quietly. And after he was gone, Margaret discovered that the smoothing over was gone too. Now every bill was visible. Every number had weight. She lived on Social Security and a portion of Walter's teacher pension. The house was paid off. She had some savings. She was not in danger, she said firmly. She did not want anyone thinking she was helpless. But $420 was not small to her. It was a month of utilities. It was medication co-pays she had been delaying until her next check cleared. It was the winter coat she had decided not to buy, because the old one still kept out the cold if she wore a sweater underneath. And still, she paid the contractor twice, because he had done his job, because she believed people should be paid when they do what they promised. Because she did not believe someone else should carry a cost that was not theirs to carry. Then she stopped speaking. The courtroom was silent. I looked down at the paper in front of me. 2 canceled checks, $420. $420, same careful handwriting, same looping signature. And something inside me broke open. It was not pity. Margaret Ellis did not want pity, and I would not have insulted her with it. It was not simply sadness. It was the weight of her decency. The coat she did not buy, the medication she delayed, the contractor she protected, the husband who had spent years making life easier for her without letting her see the struggle, the 51 years of quiet love, the fact that even after loss, even after fear, even after money became something she had to count carefully, her first